All right, so welcome back to It Is Good. I am here for another episode with my friend Mysunique. Um, so this is our take two. We did try to shoot a video in Atlanta, but it just was not working. And then I realized it's because it's not what God wanted us to talk about. So God wanted me to have Miss Unique on here to tell her story, but specifically her journey through pregnancy and everything that she dealt with surrounding the pregnancy and how she overcame. So I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mysunique Crocken. I am a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a student. I'm a fashion designer / stylist. I'll be having my own clothing line soon. Stay tuned. That's the word. But right now I'm just a mother and a wife. Yeah.
I wouldn't use the word just. A mother and a wife are right two very, very big, hard roles. And you're so much more.
Yes, so much more.
Yes. So much more. You're already styling, so you're already a stylist. Mm-hmm. You're a child of God. You're a good friend. You're a great person. So tell us your story.
Ooh, I don't even know where to start. I'm gonna start with a more.
Okay.
I just heard my first pregnancy. So, am I talking to you or talking to me? Oh, okay. So my first pregnancy with Amore, I was 19 when I was pregnant. I remember the day that it actually happened. I remember I actually left my mom's house.
The day what you conceived?
Yeah, the day I remember I conceived. Yeah, I remember me and my mom got into a really big argument. This is when I started my walk with Christ. And I guess you have like those self-righteous moments where you're like, hey, you, that was me. And it was really bad for me and my mom. So she kind of kicked me out, but I was like, I'll leave anyways, and so I just left. And so I had a boyfriend at the time, and I went to live with him. And I remember one day the Holy Spirit was like, go home. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm going home. So I remember we were supposed to be going to Mississippi this day.
Who, you and your boyfriend?
Yeah, okay. At the time, yes. We were supposed to be going to Mississippi that day, but I told him to bring me home, and then he got on the road and go to Mississippi. And then he was like, wow. I was like, I'm just going to be obedient and go. I knew God's voice, and I was scared. So I was like, I'm going home. Because it was like, go home. And I was like,
okay.
So as I made my way back home to my mom's house, I was like, can I come home? And my stepdad was like, your mama said no. But I'm calling my mom on the phone. She's not answering me. He's like, she's on the phone right now. She said no, not to let you in. And I'm like, Lord, I was obedient. I came home. What do you want me to do now? What do you want me to do? So I just went to Mississippi with my son's father. And I just remember being with him. I had like a lot of anxiety, this is when God really began to open my eyes spiritually. But I didn't understand what was going on around me. I just knew that every single night, in the middle of the night, I would wake up and would panic attacks, or I would see like demons all around me trying to kill me.
At the time, did you know they were demons?
I knew they were demonic, but I just didn't know, like. And I would wake up and I'd be like, pointing like, you the devil, you the devil, you the devil, you the devil. I'm sorry, you the devil, you the devil. And this was literally every single night. And then he was like, bro, I'm tired of this, bro. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't know. And I remember the last time we had sex, I heard the Lord say to me, I knew I was pregnant right then and there when he said to me, I was going to wish that I had went home that day when he told me to go home. And I was like, and I thought, and it immediately was like, you're pregnant. And I was like, but we just had sex today. But it was like immediately I heard him spoken. I was like, whoa. Okay.
How did you feel in that moment?
I was kind of shocked, but I was still kind of like
in denial.
In denial, yeah, I was very in denial. I was like, I'm not pregnant. So during Christmas break, me and my boyfriend at the time, we went to Atlanta to visit his sister, and that whole trip, I was just really emotional. We were fighting extremely bad, and I just remember one night when I turned to my side and I saw a vision, and I saw a baby laying on his belly with a blue blanket, and I was like, and I remember one Saturday night we were in a store before Christmas, and we walked over by the pregnancy test aisle, and now the Holy Spirit said, grab a pregnancy test. And I was like, nah, because he was right there with me.
Yeah.
And so he was like, grab a test. And I said, okay. And I said, I'm just going to grab this test. And then, you know, my wife was doing, he was like, okay, why are you grabbing the test? Like, you know, and I'm like, okay. So I grabbed a pregnancy test, and that same night I peed on the stick, and it came back negative.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not pregnant. Woo! And then the next day I started spotting, and I was like, oh, not pregnant for real, I'm spotting. And then it went away. And I was like, okay.
So you thought you were getting your period?
Yeah, because I was spotting. I was like, okay. And it just immediately stopped the next day. And then that night, like in the midnight, I was like at 3, and the Holy Spirit said, go take it again. So I went and did it again. So he told me to take the test again, I did, and it came back positive. My eyes was like, and I'm just looking around for me, and I was like,
so y'all were still in Atlanta?
Yeah, okay. When I found out, and I was like, mind you, his mom had just died. Maybe about 6-7 months ago, around this time too. So it was just like, my first thought was, I'm not finna have no baby. I'm finna get an abortion. That was my first thought. And the next morning, I'm like, maybe this was a bad dream. Like, let me take it again. So while he was in the bathroom taking a shower, I just went in the bathroom with him, and I did it in front of him so he can see that I wasn't playing, because we just read a negative test like 2 nights ago. And so I did it together in front of his face. He was like, what are you doing? And I pulled it out, and it was going positive. And I just handed it to him. And he was in the shower, and he just started smiling and laughing, like, and I'm like, this is an excited laugh? Where's this nervous laugh? What kind of laugh is this? So I'm like, okay, in my mind I'm thinking like, what's gonna happen? All these emotions going through me. That's why I was so emotional. That's why I was crying. I would act a fool that whole weekend. I can't lie. His sister probably, that was like my first time actually really meeting her.
Oh gosh.
So that was like a bad. She probably was like, oh, I don't like her, like, you know. And then I called her about him too, and she was just like, well, that explains your behavior, because they're real country. So she said, oh, you pregnant, girl, that explains your behavior. Oh, you good now, because I thought you was just crazy. So everybody was just happy. I'm the only one like,
oh no.
Why everybody so happy? I'm just 19. I'm pregnant. 23. What we gonna do? What else we finna do? We ain't ready to be nobody parents. Especially me. I'm hot. I'm popping. That was my thoughts, and so it was just like, oh my God, like, I'm really finna have a baby.
So how did you go from, I don't want to have a baby, to, okay, I'm really about to have this baby? Like, what changed your mind?
So my first trimester was like really bad for me. I was extremely sick. I was in and out of the hospital because the pain, the agony that I was in with being pregnant with a more, and not just physically but mentally. It was a lot of agony for me, because it was like, I need to abort this baby, abort the baby, abort the baby. Well, that's what it kept coming to my mind. Like, I didn't want to have the baby because I was scared. I didn't have no money. I didn't have no job. I really didn't have nowhere to live. I was really being honest, because that wasn't my place. That was his place. You know, I didn't know what I was gonna do with the baby. I didn't know nothing about raising. I didn't even like kids. If we're being honest, like so I was afraid what my parents may say, what
That's
my
what
people may say.
What did your mom say when you told her?
So
how did you tell her?
It was like I was so sick one day to the point that Junior thought something was gonna happen to me. So he called my mom and she's like, "What's going on?" And she was like, "If she pregnant, you need to take her to the hospital." And I was like, "Okay, well, she kind of know, but she don't know yet. Like, she just kind of like, you know." So I remember I was scared. I was like, "What are we going to tell my mom?" Because it's embarrassing for your daughter to come tell you, "Oh, she's pregnant," without being married. Like, you know, I was the only, like, my sister married, my brother, you know, he wasn't married, but you know, he's a man. No one cares. But when it comes down to a female woman, it's like, you gotta be married, you gotta do this, and you gotta have this, and you know, I wasn't any of that. I was just fresh out of high school, you know, didn't know what I was doing with my life. So we went to this place where for mothers, like first time mothers, like those clinics, and they kind of school you everything. And I got my first ultrasound. And so when I got my first ultrasound, because we was in Rosenberg that's where I was at. My mom lives in Rosenberg. So afterward, I told my mom if me and her can talk, well, me, her, and Junior can talk. So I was just telling Junior, I was like, maybe we should just get married. We just tell her we're getting married. We're gonna have this baby. We're gonna raise baby together as a family, and be into that. I was scared because my mom had like this stronghold over me, like this power over me, to where I couldn't sit down and talk to her like this. It was like I was always hiding behind somebody going like this because I was scared. I didn't know what she was going to say or what she was going to do. So we went to my mom's house afterwards, and he told her, and she was just like, I was hiding behind him. I was like, and she was like, "You grown. That's all on you. What y'all gonna do with the baby?"
How did that make you feel?
It just tore me down the inside. It made me feel like, it made me immediately start rejecting my baby. It made me feel like, is this a mistake? In a way. So that's when the abortions start coming up and things start coming in my mind. And I was embarrassed. Only person that knew about my pregnancy was my mother. I didn't want nobody else to know. So the next day, I get a phone call from my brother. And was like, "You pregnant? Mama said you pregnant." And I was like, "Why do you care so much?" He was like, he said to me, this is the exact words he said to me. He said, "You're going to have a hard life if you have this baby. Get an abortion."
He was your older brother?
Willie. And I hung up on him when he said that. And all I did was just cry. I just cried. I cried so hard. I think I probably went to sleep after that. And then my daddy called me, and my dad was like, "I heard you pregnant." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pregnant." Yeah, like. And then my mom was texting me that I need to get an abortion. She'll pay for it. And then my boyfriend at the time was like, "Do not abort this baby." If you
I was going to say, since your boyfriend and his family were happy.
His whole family, his grandma, everybody was happy. They were like, "What we finna have?" Because they're a real big family. When I see a definition of family, I would say they are a definition of family. I can't lie on that. They ride for each other, no matter if they right, wrong or right. They ride for each other. They'll defend you. If you're wrong, they'll still defend you. But behind closed doors, they'll chew you out. Yeah.
And from us talking before, so I know you have like, you didn't have that in your family growing up.
Mm-mm.
Just quick background. So I know you said that you felt like almost like an outsider growing up.
Mm-hmm.
There was a story you say where your siblings told everybody that you weren't actually related to them. You and your mom didn't have the best relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So you felt like you didn't belong in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So then when you come back home, well, first of all, you see that his family is excited and welcoming to this new addition. And then you go to your family and everybody on your side is saying abort.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been hard.
It was hard. It was like I was torn between keep the baby, don't keep the baby, keep the baby, don't keep the baby. And all I could do was just cry. All I could do was get on my knees and one, repent, and two, ask God for guidance and what to do.
And I wanted to touch on that because specifically for the video. So when we come to Christ, right? That doesn't mean we're perfect.
Ooh.
We still are in our flesh. We still do fleshy things. We still make mistakes. Yeah, so when we give our lives to Christ, we are forgiven. We know that. But we still, because we're in this flesh, we still make mistakes. We still sin. Yes, we know that there's grace, but not to the point to where you do something, you say, oh, I'm sorry, and keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between repenting and just taking advantage. It don't work that way. So just to clarify for the people who say, oh, I thought she was in Christ. No, we're all in. Those who ask for forgiveness, repent, acknowledge Jesus. Yes, we're in Christ. That doesn't mean we're perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in Christ. She had recently started her journey. Even people who have been on this journey for a long time, we still make mistakes. So the story that she's telling, she was new in Christ and she still was making mistakes, but she still knew God's voice. So I just wanted to clear that up because people be like, I thought you was a Christian and you over here.
Yeah, I was a babe still. I still had a lot of growing up to do. And just to clarify that too, I remember how the Lord would communicate with me too in spirit realm was through my pastor. I'm just telling you the dream that my old pastor, we had like a big old party at his house, right? We lit. And I was kicking everybody. I was like, okay, come on, y'all gotta go. My pastor on the way home. And when he got home, I would go hide. And then he would come look. I would hear his footsteps. He would come looking for me. And he would be like, where are you? I know you're here. Where are you? And I thought about that, like, Adam and Eve, when they sinned.
That's what that was just what's playing through my head. I was like, oh, okay.
When they sinned, they hid themselves from the Lord. And then I remember the dream switched to where my pastor was standing in the middle, and on this side was like a tornado, and on this side it was just peace. And then he was like, who do you serve? Who do you serve? And he was screaming at me, who do you serve? And I woke up, I was like, I serve you, Lord. Why are you screaming at me? Why are you screaming at me? But I didn't understand right there in that moment because one, nobody wasn't teaching me who I was. I just kind of was like, kind of winging it on my own, but I didn't understand dreams or the prophetic world or any of those things anymore. I just understood that I knew the Lord's voice and I knew something wasn't right in that dream. I was like, I don't know, that's scary. I ain't messing with that. But I didn't realize that the sin that I was in with me having sex and shacking with my boyfriend at the time, that really hurt God's feelings.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay, so your family is saying abort. Oh, yeah, you said your mom. Your mom offered to pay for an abortion. How did you tell her no? Especially saying that, she had this hold over you, were scared. How did you tell her no, and then how did she take you telling her no?
We started talking for a while. We stopped talking for a while. When we stopped talking, I really started focusing on Christ.
Mm-hmm.
We start going. We didn't stop going. We start going back to church, and me and my boyfriend at the time start finding Christ together. At this point, me and him was already talking about go ahead and get married because we understood what we were doing. We were living in sin and shacking. I start for real serving God. I start really telling him, no, I don't want to have sex with you anymore because I want to save myself from my husband. I start telling him that already. Mm-hmm. And even I was pregnant with his child, but I did. I started working at a daycare. And I started making money for myself and just being able to take care of myself. And it was a calm, a peace. Everything just started getting peaceful. Mm-hmm. I remember my brother invited me to go to church with him Wednesday night, and I went to church with him Wednesday, and I had these shoes on. They stunk really bad. Like you could kind of smell the must out of the shoes because I wore them to work. They were my work shoes. I'm around kids all day, so of course I guess he felt bad for me, so he told my mom, and that's when my mom started talking back to me, and she told me to come to Rosenberg so she can take me shopping, and I was like, okay, cool. So me and her were at Ross. We were shopping. I was getting me some mom shirts and mom tights and dresses and stuff like that because I was starting to get big. It was starting to show. And she was like, we need to hurry up. And I was like, why? She was like, because Ariel's pregnant, my big sister, and she needs my help.
How'd that make you feel?
And I just looked at her. And I said, what? She was like, Ariel's pregnant and she needs my help. I'm going to go help her. And I said, Mom, how come I didn't receive this? How come you didn't help me when we were calling you, asking you for it? Because we didn't know what to do either. She was, I'm not helping you. You not married. She married. I'm not helping no child that's not married.
Which to me is crazy because you would think the one that's not married would need the most help.
Yeah. And I'm like,
and whether you're married or not, you're her child. So she should,
And I was like, is that your way of trying to show me tough love? And when she said to me, my whole heart just dropped. And I just took the bag clothes and I walked away. She said, you so ungrateful, you can't even say thank you. I didn't say thank you. I said this, but I wanted to throw the clothes back at her and said, take it. I don't even want it no more. I'll just go shopping for myself. But I wasn't prideful. I took the clothes, I got in my car, and I drove and I cried. I cried so much. Depression swarmed me. I was depression. When you see me, you know how most women have like that beautiful pregnancy glow and just beautiful. I had the opposite of that. I had just depressed, sadness, anger, bitterness, hurt, regret, rejection. It was difficult for me. And it's a constant cycle with my mom. It's like we're good, then we're bad, we're good, and we're bad, we're good, we're bad, we're good, and we're bad. And so, for the sake of my pregnancy, I had to really just kind of stay away from my mom so that I can be healthy and move forward. Because it seemed like every time I got around her, I always just be brought down. And so, my boyfriend at the time had a roommate. And he was like, it's time for me and him to move out. It's just me and him to get a place with just me and him. So me and him had found a 2-bedroom apartment out in Katy. It was really nice on Greenhouse.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really nice, and we moved there, and everything just started changing. I still was going to work. You know, he got into welding school. He went to school to get a trade. You know, we were setting goals to start to become one.
Yeah.
We were still going to church. We were still serving in church, you know, doing things that need to be done. And things just started looking up from here. Then his sister moved to Houston.
The one that y'all had went and seen in Atlanta. Okay.
And they could say your family could be your worst enemy. He stopped smoking weed. He stopped doing drugs.
So this was all before his sister, when you guys were getting to know Christ together.
He was going to church every Sunday. He stopped drinking. He wasn't out partying. He was not out late at night. He was doing what he needed to do as a man, and I was doing what I needed to do as a woman. Things started to look better for us. Things was getting better. It was peace.
It's looking promising.
Yes. And his sister moves here to Houston. And
Did she move in with you?
No.
Okay.
She moved 5 minutes away from us. So I guess she technically say, yeah, she did. But she was just 5 minutes away from us. And that still was hell. And all hell just broke loose when she came to Houston. And I was just like, start seeing a little bit of changes. And the Lord told me to not focus on that and to focus on him. But it hurt my feelings a lot that he would leave me for his sister, or it was whatever his sister says, that was final.
She an older sister?
And she's basically like the mama now, you know?
Yeah, because he lost his man.
So it was just like whatever she says.
She probably used that as manipulation too.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a lot of manipulation, he started back smoking weed, he started back doing drugs, he started back drinking again, started back going clubbing, you know, because the sister came, and I was just like, well, for some odd reason, I would have bursts of tears, and I just be like, I know I'm finna do this alone. I know I'm finna do this alone. I know for a fact I'm finna do this alone. Because I saw how fast he started backtracking. And I was like, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be here no more. And this is when the attacks start getting stronger and greater. I would see in the spirit realm, and I would see how demonic things was happening. I remember I saw a devil. I was maybe like 7 months pregnant with a more. The devil was literally standing on top of me, kicking my belly in my womb. And I would just have my hands over my womb like, no, you can't have him. You're not going to have him. So that day forward, I made a conscious decision that I'm going to serve Christ. I'm going to serve him all the way. At this point, I'm like, I'm done playing games. I'm done allowing the enemy to mess with my mind. I'm done. So I stopped working because I was getting really sick. I was at high blood pressure. At this point, he would be at school. So all morning, I would be up early in the morning watching. His name was Pastor Darby. Watching his sermons, reading my Bible, worshiping all day. The atmosphere was just beautiful. And then when he'll come home, I'd just be like, run, run. I was just kidding. It started getting uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I remember the last Sunday, me and him went to church together. And the pastor preached a sermon about the wheat and the thorns. Let them grow up together, and then let the Lord separate them. I don't know if you ever felt this before when God's talking to you like your butt get hot. Has that ever happened to you before?
My scalp starts itching.
Yeah, I was just like, whew. So he was preaching. He was up, the Lord had him up all night. This message was for me and me only. And I know it's for me because he kept looking me dead in my eyes. And he would say something, I'd be like, so me and him was sitting together close like this. And Pastor started preaching, and I kept going like, I started rocking a little side a little bit. And I know people was watching me, and I was like, trying to play it off. And he said something, and I was like, whoo. And I kept trying to throw it off. And he said something, I said, whoo. And then he said something else, and next thing you know, I'm all at the end of the pew. My boyfriend Tom all the way over here, and I'm all the way over there. Like, it was a huge gap between us at this point. I couldn't get up, and then once he stopped preaching, it was like I wanted to run and leave, but like the Lord arrested me right there in that moment to where I couldn't move. And so when we had gotten a circle, it was a small family church, maybe like 15, 20 people go there. Mm-hmm. After we take communion, we all get in a circle and we hold hands and we pray. Afterwards, once we had let go and drop hands, I literally ran to my pastor's office because he's like a dad to me too. So I ran into his office and I was like, Dad, and I just bust out crying. And he was like, daughter, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he couldn't say anything to me. He had to call another minister in there, and he called Minister Charlotte in there because she's been ministering to me in this season of my life. And she was just like, she started talking about my boyfriend's son. She's like, y'all gonna do it right. Y'all need to go ahead and get married. She's like, you need to ask the Lord to change him. Ask the Lord, do this. And I'm like, okay. Lord. So I wanted God to change me. I really wanted to marry that man. I really wanted a life with him because I
Did you want to marry him because you loved him or because he was the father to your baby?
Both. I was
okay, so you did love him. Okay.
I was madly in love with him. Everybody, they would tell you. I was at the time, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think it was for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. I think it was more lust. But I did love him too because we had an awesome bond. Okay. Yeah. But also lust kind of goes with that too because that's why it's good like to court before you guys have sex so you can really see that person, like, yeah. Where was that?
Sister Charlene?
Yeah. Miss Charlotte came in there and she told me to start praying for my son father, like, pray over him, pray with him, or, ask the Lord to change him. Mm-hmm. If you guys gonna get married, do it the right way. And I was like, okay. After that, I was maybe 8 months pregnant. I wasn't feeling well. I was able to go to church anymore. And he wasn't going to church anymore either.
So when you stopped going because of your pregnancy, then he stopped going?
Yeah, he stopped going. He stopped going too. I was really just beaten down during my pregnancy, just mentally with my family. And then he started to beat me down too at this point. Like, he started calling me lazy because I wasn't able to get up and clean the house anymore, making me feel like I wasn't wanted or loved. And then another part of me felt like he was cheating on me too. So I just couldn't put my finger on it, but I was like, something's not right. I know something's going on, but I can't focus on it right now. And he would always call me crazy or call me dumb. He would always cuss me out. It was just
a lot of
verbal abuse.
And emotional too.
Yeah, emotional abuse. And I was had like, what's wrong with me? And I just prayed like, God, what am I doing wrong? Why can't me and him just get along, Lord? And I was like, God, like, and it was to a point where I was going to give up on God. I was like, I'm just done. I'm fed up. I'm done. I can't do it no more. I'm over it. And so I stopped going to church for a little bit because I was pregnant. And then once I had a more September 3rd, 2019. I had to get induced because he wouldn't come out.
So you were past your due date?
Okay. Amore was stubborn. And then it was 9 pounds and 8 ounces. Gosh. So imagine how huge I was. He was stubborn. He didn't want to come out. That induced me. It was still a little fight for him to come out. That boy was stubborn. So I was labor for maybe like 7. I was in labor for 7-8 hours, and I just remember when I was in labor how he treated me.
He was at the hospital?
We were together, and I'm in pain, and he's playing a game. Like, he brought his whole game system and playing the game. And I'm like crying for him to help me. And I'm like telling him, I was like, what is wrong with you? I'm in pain. Why aren't you helping me? You care more about a game, or you care more about social media than your girlfriend being in labor right now. Why are you treating me like this? Like, we had a whole argument while I'm in labor. And he walked out on me. Because I was literally screaming for him. But I screamed for him to get out. But at the same time, it was just like, he was, I'm being dramatic. And I was like, I don't think he understood how I felt at that time. I don't think no man will ever understand the pain that we go through as a woman having a baby. So that just made me really sad, like really just like broken. Like, what the heck? So after that, Amor came out. He was a healthy baby. He was fat. He was good. The moment Amor laid eyes on me, the moment we locked eyes together, it was like, I'm a mom. And that's when it got real, because my whole pregnancy, I kind of was in denial until he laid on my chest, and I was like, oh my God. And then that's when I heard the Holy Spirit was like, now I got you. And I was like, okay, what I'm gonna do now. My mom was at the hospital too. She was excited. His sister was there. Everybody came to the hospital to see him more. They were excited. And when we got home, the first day we got home from the hospital, I cried. I boo-hooed, because I'm like, what am I finna do? I don't know how to raise no baby. So that was the end of that.
All right, so now you're home, day one with a newborn baby, a rocky relationship. Your mom is back in your life because she was at the hospital, so she's on board with the baby now. The sister's there, everybody's happy about the baby, and you're crying. Because you're like, what am I supposed to do? Okay, so what did you do?
So I had Amor. He's a healthy baby. So I'm gonna start from after my 6 weeks is over. After my 6 weeks over, it's Thanksgiving.
Okay.
It's Thanksgiving time, and I'm really going through postpartum depression. I realized that my son, father, and I were not a good match for each other. I'm starting to realize that as a mother, things start to change. When you just by yourself in the world, you think, oh, you're good. But when you become a mother, it's like danger, 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 danger. And I'm like, some mothers just don't see those signs. But it was like my spirit just went to a whole nother level. And I was like, oh, I don't want my child to see his father coming home drunk and, high and smell like weed. And I'm like, oh, I don't want him to hear all the cursing. I don't want him in this environment. This is not a good environment for him.
Or you.
I was like, oh my God. So I start to switch my prayers. I start to pray, God, keep me a way out of this. I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I don't know where I'm going to go, but get me a way out. This man does not want to marry me. This man does not love me. This man probably doesn't even want to be with me. He's probably doing other things with other women at this point. I don't know. But I do know is that I do love him, and I want us to work, and I want the best for us. But I think I need to leave, and maybe we need to be separated for a while so things can calm down to see if this is what we really want to do. So I began to switch my prayers to God, get me out. So I remember, I just remember I just had Amor. This was maybe before Thanksgiving, my best friend came into town to help me take care of him more. Um, while and I don't know what made me do it, but he just was never home.
Mm-hmm.
I was just here with him more by myself all day long. He was never there, and when he did come, it was just like I did everything. I fed him, I bathed him, I clothed him, I put him to bed. He'd sleep. He would leave and go to Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to do? I would just cry all night long because I'm tired.
Yeah.
I want to rest too. And when I do try to rest, I'm more smoke and I'm tired too. So I guess you could say I had a lot of depression, baby depression, with postpartum depression and baby blues.
Okay.
So my best friend came to town, and at this point, I'm like, he's up to something. I don't know what it is, but I'm about to see. So he's not there, but I had his Apple Watch, and so I hooked it up to the Wi-Fi. I turned it on because it was off for a long time. I turned it on, and I go through his Apple Watch, and I see that like all these females that he was, texting, talking to his ex, telling her he missed her and sending her pictures of them too. And I'm just like, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going. It's glass. There was glass all around the house. I'm going around the whole house. I'm throwing glass everywhere. I'm going crazy. My best friend looking at me like, I think I need to go home. I'm apologizing to her like, maybe you need to go home. Maybe you came out here at the wrong time. But she came at the right time.
I was gonna say she came at the right time because she probably kept you from doing something real crazy that would have got you in trouble.
Yeah, but luckily he wasn't home either, and so I'm like throwing stuff at the wall. Stuff all you hear was shatter everywhere. When you come in the house, it's glass everywhere. I stepped on glass with my foot. I'm just going crazy. And his sister was like, "What in the HELL going on?"
Was she there?
No, she came because he called her because I called him screaming and hollering. And I was like, and she just came to the house and was like, y'all need to get it together. Y'all gonna make it work. Y'all need to make it work. And at this point, I don't want anything to do with him. So this is where we start sleeping in separate rooms. I'm in the guest room. He's in the main room. And I was like, no, you be the guest. I'm going to the main room because the bathroom is right there. So I go to the main room. He goes to the guest room. So we're separated. We're not sleeping together. We're not talking to each other. When I cook food for me. I was that petty. petty, right? And so I started to feel bad, and I started to get lonely, and I started missing him. And I was like, okay, well, let me just try. But my pride was like, nah, don't even do it. So around Thanksgiving was coming, and we was going to spend Thanksgiving as a family. And I went to his family house first, and I was excited to be around his sister because me and his younger sister are the same age, and me and her are close.
Okay.
So, and I knew her before I knew him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I just didn't know they were brother and sister. I didn't know that until later on. I was like,
oh,
sorry. And so, she was in town from Mississippi, and then their cousins, and everybody was just over, and I was excited. But I got really sad because every time Morris started crying, he was ready to go home. I wasn't ready to go home. I tried to lay him in the bed. He was unfamiliar with the house, so it was just like, no.
Yeah.
So it made me really sad. So I went home by myself, and for all Thanksgiving, I'm just sitting there like.
So your boyfriend at the time stayed.
Mm-hmm. And I'm at the house by myself, like it's Thanksgiving. So I'm just crying, Jackie. I'm crying. I'm mad, and I'm like, God, I can't do this no more. So I'm trying to go to sleep, but I can't sleep. So I'm looking for sleeping pills. At this time, I couldn't sleep because I'm still being tormented in my sleep. So I'm looking for pills to go to sleep, for medication that can go to sleep. I'm taking NyQuil, sleeping pills, Benadryl, just trying to drown myself asleep, and I still was able to sleep. At this point, I'm the lunatic at the tomb cutting herself. going to and fro, going to and fro. I remember my hair's all over my head, and I just have on a really big t-shirt, and I'm outside, and I'm walking back and forth looking for someone to save me, to rescue me. I had no drawers on, I had no bra on, I had no shoes on my feet. I'm barefoot, I'm basically naked outside like a lunatic. Hair all over my head. Amor is in the room, probably like screaming, crying, hollering.